Hey guys, Don here. Welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. I'm going to go over the things that helped get to the $1 million mark and beyond. I call this the $1 million minute. Recently I was kind of writing out, and I may start a new series. I was asked to write an article for new practitioners, and I think it might be easier for me to record a podcast and then kind of turn that into an article, a written article. I think that'll be a little bit easier. So you may see, like, once a week I'll be probably putting one of these together. Hopefully it won't be too simple, but I think these are good reminders, and they're kind of things that have helped me to get to this point, which takes a while, and just kind of clearing up. And I'd love to get other people's feedback of things that you wish you would have known when you were starting out. So I'm going to go over, first of all, before I begin, my two MVPs, which I call the most valuable patient. I think it's a good practice to get into, is to figure out what are the most valuable patients each day, so you can try to focus on getting more of those. So my first one was a 42-year-old. This is a patient that had posterior tibial tendonitis on the right. I get an x-ray. Didn't really show much of the tendon. Got an ultrasound. Had difficulty on single leg going up on the toes. Put this patient in a cam boot to kind of rest things, set up Shockwave ×6, and discussed about doing an amnio injection and also orthotics at the third visit. So this is very similar to the plantar fasciitis ones that I have that tend to be the most valuable patient. There was swelling around the posterior tibial tendon, maybe some partial longitudinal tears in the ultrasound, but Shockwave does a really good job at kind of healing all this up, and then either orthotics or like an AFO. She was less inclined to an AFO. Females, I find, have a little bit more of a challenge with those just because they look ugly. Other patient MVP was a 43-year-old female. Came in with two different things. Came in on the main issue was on the left foot. She is an avid runner, and she had pain towards the medial cuneiform. So no pain on the navicular tuberosity, slightly proximal to that. So it was cuneiform. I got an x-ray. It was hard to see what was going on there. And so based on one of my listeners, he said, "Hey, Don, you should, whenever you're unsure, do an ultrasound." So I did an ultrasound, and I was able to see some bleeding right near that medial cuneiform. So kind of like a stress fracture there of that bone. She's had multiple stress fractures in the past because of being an avid runner. Put her in a boot, did fracture code, non-op fracture code, and then she also had a wart on the right, fourth metatarsal, that's been there for years and years. So we started with cantharidin on there. I talked about Swift and put her in a cam boot. So I talked to her about Shockwave. She was not interested. She's not like an elite athlete. But I told her that Shockwave, and this is kind of how I explain it, it can probably speed up the healing a little bit, but really what the research shows is it helps the return to play faster, meaning returning to running and her activity. They say it's faster, like 50% faster. Okay, so that's the main reason. It's not so much, it's going to heal your fracture faster. It doesn't do that. Maybe a little bit, but it's more just getting back to activity after you have the fracture. Okay, other patients. First one was a 57-year-old patient with a calcaneal beak fracture. Shockwave 4 out of 6. She's feeling better. I told her she could try to go out of the boot a little bit. It's still part of the global, so we did an x-ray and we couldn't do an office visit. So usually at the last Shockwave I can do an office visit, but when I'm in the 90-day global I can't do that. Next was a 70-year-old female, had bunions, hammer toes. I gave her recommendations for anatomic shoes, boot and splint, correct toes, and considering doing EPAT in the future. I think mostly that was for her, kind of the arthritis that she was having as well, and I think she had some pain under the second met head. Next was a 68-year-old female, status post Achilles. This patient didn't have to do anything else but my Pelto Special. So Pelto Special, once again, is a night splint, foam rolling, and morning stretch. And she had no other pain. She got totally better in her Achilles, didn't need any other treatments. I think she got meloxicam as well. Next was a 58-year-old, left fifth met head. This is interesting. This is a neuroma. So I've had one other patient like this, lateral fifth met head. I did a Taylor's bunionectomy a while back, and there's like a palpable lump when you move your hand and like almost like a Mulder sign, I guess you could call it. There's a nerve there, and I've had these get aggravated. I think it's just from the lateral aspect of the fifth metatarsal, and it gets thick. And so I take these. I've taken one of these out, and it worked well. So I talked to her about taking this out for her as well. So we would remove that in the office. Actually, I think it's going to be a smaller little nerve removal in the office. It looks kind of like a piece of spaghetti when you move it out. Next was a 59-year-old female, Swift number 2 out of 4, so she has another 2 scheduled. Next was a 65-year-old orthotic follow-up. He's doing much better with his orthotics. No follow-up, only if there any other issues. Next was a 34-year-old. This was a carry flex for 2 toenails and got the kit, and then debrided those 2 nails. This was done by my nail tech. Happily done by my nail tech. I've been doing way too many of these this year. Next was a 75-year-old female status post-exostectomy, still in the global period, but I got an x-ray. She's doing well. That was the exostectomy between the toes. We did that in the office. Next was an 84-year-old man. He had a hammer toe. We did x-ray counseling. Not that bad. Gave him shoe recommendations. Next was a 50-year-old female, had a lot of calluses, had fissures bilaterally. So this is something I also learned from Joel, one of the other listeners here. And when they're deep fissures, I trim the calluses off, and I kind of debride them with a tissue nipper. And so that's actually ulcer debridement. So I debrided them, put steries on them, put elastoplast, and she's going to keep that for 3 days to hopefully heal that up. And then she's going to start the regimen, which is usually sleep and heel socks at night, and then Cara cream during the day, and then pumice stone once in a while for that. So that's what she's going to do. So I was able to get the ulcer debridement coach. She's going to come back in 3 weeks. I also did a nail sample, and I'll go over that nail sample in 3 weeks and probably start her on terbinafine. Next was a 72-year-old patient, status post 3 shockwaves. She's about 60% better in her ankle. We talked about an AFO. She declined. Next was a 85-year-old female, right ulcer. Oh, this is a hard one. So she had melanoma removal years and years ago, and she had on the bottom of her right foot, and she has this big, kind of not a big defect, like maybe the defect is like 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by maybe a half centimeter deep, but it has this huge callus ring around it that's just exquisitely painful, almost like nerve pain. And she comes in, and we try to trim down that callus, and it's almost like she has nucleated calluses around it, maybe from the pressure, and it just hurts her so much every time I trim those out. She's tried different types of creams, things like that, and I actually, because she's going to go see an oncologist soon, I recommended maybe she see the plastics department to see if there's anything they can do to kind of revise that big scar that's on there. But that was a challenging one. I don't know how to do those. I don't really do those, but that would be something I recommended for plastics to do. Next was a 24-year-old man, ingrown toenail. We did a matrixectomy. See him back in 3 weeks. With our new system, there's a way we can double book follow-ups, so he's going to be double booked one. Next was a 38-year-old female, had a lot of that was the calluses, sorry, I told you about before. Next was a 70-year-old male, calluses in the left fifth toe, so I trimmed down that due to tight shoes and just rubbing there. I talked about an exostectomy. He also has arthritis to the first MPJ. He's going on a pilgrimage to Mecca, and so I did an injection to the first MPJ with ultrasound guidance for him to calm that down. Next was a 45-year-old male, status post 6 shockwaves to the plantar fascia. Feeling much better. It doesn't need any follow-up, so he was successful with the shockwave. Next was an 81-year-old female with ankle pain, and I kind of gave anti-inflammatory recommendations, bracing recommendations, things like that. Next was a 37-year-old male with metatarsalgia. We did x-ray ultrasound, showed some swelling around the plantar plate region. There's no pain with Lockman. And I recommended a Boudin splint or a carbon fiber insert or orthotic. He's going to start with that along with some anti-inflammatories. If it doesn't get better, then we consider Shockwave. Next was a 55-year-old patient with status post midfoot injection, feeling much better after that midfoot injection. So she will follow up as needed. So it was a good day. It looks like there's maybe 20 patients or so, and so I'm able actually to start writing things down. One of the struggles I'm still having with ModMed is like at the end of the day, like the first half of the day works well, but the second half of the day, Morali is getting behind because he's having to transfer things over to the new EMR, so I'm not able to finish my notes like right when I want to do it, so I'm leaving him for the next day. This day I didn't because I brought my kids to Taekwondo and I could do them while they were in Taekwondo in the car. But I'm still not getting the notes done. I think the notes are getting done better. There's some nuances that we're still learning, but we are getting better. Things are getting better with this new EMR. Okay, guys, have a great day.